Hello, Lilli, can you hear me?
Hello, Val. Yes, I can hear you very well.
Fantastic. How are you today?
I'm okay. It's a sunny day in Rome.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. It's even a sunny day in Sweden.
Even.
And, yes. I want to say thank you, first of all, for agreeing to speak with me about the EPOS today. And if it's okay, I will start with giving a little introduction about yourself, and then I have a series of questions for you on EPOS and various related matters.
Please, I'm here on purpose to answer to your questions. And
Great.
I'm curious to hear about your introduction.
Well, Lilli, Carmela Freda is the new executive director of EPOS, succeeding Massimo Cocco in this role. And I like to take the opportunity to talk with you about that. And Lilli graduated in Earth Sciences from La Sapienza University in Rome in 1989. And since 2001, she is a researcher at the Istituto Nazionale di Geofisica e Vulcanologia, INGV, in Rome. And you were employed at La Sapienza beforehand, and you've been research scientist and visiting researcher in many European places. You've been in Sweden, for instance, but also in Germany and in Canada and in the UK. And you've been kind of, traveling the globe in your research time. And since 2010, you're involved with EPOS, and you have been helping with the preparatory phase. And now you've kind of been taking on the role of the executive director now that Massimo Cocco has retired. So now you're in charge of EPOS, and I guess this is a great opportunity to first of all talk with you a little bit about what you feel about EPOS and how you see EPOS and where you see it going and what you want to do with it. So if that's okay, then I will start with a few tough questions for you.
Yes, please. It's a pleasure to answer. If you allow me, I would like only to make a little correction on what you said, which is not about me, because everything you said about me is correct. That Massimo Cocco is not retired yet. I don't know if he will feel insulted about that. So it is just that his role as executive director expired. And so that's why there was a selection for nominating the new executive director, and that's why I'm here now. So
I see. And oh, sorry to Massimo Cocco. I mean, he's done so much that I think he deserves to retire, but
I
didn't mean to be.
I'm pretty sure he would enjoy a lot to be in his retirement.
I'm sure. Yes. Thanks for the correction, Lilli. That's great. Okay, but now I guess let's plunge into the first question, and that is that I have a small list of questions. Well, most of us have a fairly good idea, or at least a vague idea, about what EPOS is. And I guess for those who are not fully familiar, this might be a good opportunity to kind of say a few words. So let's start with that. My first question is therefore, what is EPOS? Could you give us a quick summary of that, if that's okay?
Yes, of course. I will be very happy to give this a quick summary. And actually, I have a few slides that we already have ready when we would like to explain what the EPOS is, because I think it's maybe it's even easier for people who is going to listen, maybe to have these slides as a background. So you asked what EPOS is. So EPOS is the acronym of European Plate Observing System. EPOS is a multidisciplinary distributed research infrastructure. And EPOS is aiming at facilitating an integrated use of data products and facilities, meaning, for example, laboratories or observatories, presently sitting in hundreds diverse European research infrastructures that are dealing with solid earth science. So presently, as just said, the European countries own and operate a mosaic of hundreds distributed and separated research infrastructures, each one located in different countries all around Europe. And this includes, you know, observing networks, observatories, temporary deployment of instrumentation, laboratories, and so on. Mm-hmm. But we all know that geoprocesses, so what the solid earth is dealing with, are independently of the national frontiers and independent of discipline boundaries. So therefore, EPOS started from the assumption that scientific investigations on these geoprocesses would tremendously benefit from seamless transnational integration of all these geographically distributed measurements and information. And so consequently, EPOS is convinced about that. A single distributed infrastructure like EPOS that is aiming at harmonizing and integrating all these multidisciplinary solid earth science data acquired through diverse scientific systems and then optimized to be freely and openly accessible to a broad, let's say, amount of stakeholders, not only focusing on research, but enlarging the reservoir of people we want to reach, right, is actually a prerequisite to make a step change in developing new concepts and new tools for innovating research in solid earth science. And so if you want, this is in turn mandatory to answer to scientific and socio-economic questions concerning the system Earth. And I would say that you also agree that solid earth science actually offers answers about how to maintain the Earth a safe, prosperous, and habitable planet. But the key challenge now is to make the enormous wealth of available solid earth science data actually accessible. So to promote cross-disciplinary and multidisciplinary science for society. So if I can go even further, I would say that the vision behind EPOS is to ensure a sustainable and universal use and reuse of multidisciplinary solid earth science data and products, because we want to foster state-of-the-art research and innovation. And the final goal is, to summarize what I just said before, to make possible a better understanding of the Earth's surface and subsurface dynamic, and then use this progress in science. And if you want to go a little bit further and not think only about our science as researchers, to do all these actually for the assessment of geohazards and for assessing how to exploit in a sustainable way georesources. So this is, let's say, the vision behind EPOS. And now it seems a little bit theoric, but I can ensure that it's very practical what we are doing.
Thank you very much, Lilli. I mean, yes, this is very interesting and a lot to digest. So, and we'll come to the practical things in a few minutes. But my next question here is, who is actually involved? Who is represented by EPOS?
So I think I should have, yeah, this is a nice picture I can have as a background.
Right.
Yeah, so as I said, EPOS is composed of a variety of earth science stakeholders, that they are all working together for integrating these data coming from many diverse disciplines and European research infrastructure into one single interoperable platform. So we are talking about a platform, a e-infrastructure. If you see here, you see some numbers. So EPOS actually brings together earth scientists and IT experts from more than 250 national research infrastructures distributed in at least 25 European countries. But it's bringing together not only the researchers, but also the policymakers. So and we come back to the practicality of what we are doing. So we are not only discussing about science, but how to make science sustainable, actually involving governments and national authorities in what EPOS is doing. And EPOS also is really involving people from all around Europe, but also people from some international organizations. So EPOS has not only a European vision, but also a global perspective. And at the end, what we would like to achieve is to make available several petabytes of solid earth science data to several thousands of users. So this is really our final goal. Then I don't know if I can go more deeply in the countries involved in EPOS.
Sure, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so as I said, there are 25 countries already involved. 25 countries involved means that research infrastructure, research organizations or research institutions, national research institutions from these 25 countries are now making available the data they are producing to EPOS, so that through the portal, all these data produced in this research infrastructure will be accessible all around the world at this point, not only Europe, of course. I don't know if I actually answered to this question.
I think you did. I think you did. So this is very good, and what a big effort it is, and it's quite fascinating to see how many kind of institutions, how many setups, how many instruments are actually contributing. I see as well that EPOS, and it says there in the bottom of your slide, EPOS is an ERIC. And at least when I started to kind of take an interest, I was a little confused about this. Could you add a few words about what an ERIC actually is? So this might help some of our viewers.
Yeah, I think, thank you for this question, because yes, this might be a little bit confusing for not only for the general public, but for the researchers as well, because so far I talked with you about a research infrastructure. This is something easy to be understandable. So EPOS is not a simple research infrastructure, because it is a distributed research infrastructure, means that, as I said a few minutes ago, a lot of other research infrastructures are contributing into one single research infrastructure, which is EPOS. But EPOS needs to be governed in some way, because it would have, you can imagine how complex can be then to govern such a huge distributed research infrastructure. And here it comes the ERIC. So the ERIC is the acronym of European Research Infrastructure Consortium. So the ERIC is a consortium and is a specific legal form, so is a legal subject, is a legal body that facilitates the establishment and the operation of the research infrastructure having an European interest. And what you see here in this map I'm showing now, you see that you see countries in Europe in green and in red. So if you merge the green and the red countries, you have the 25 European countries I was mentioning before as contributing with their data and products to the effort EPOS is doing in making all these data and products accessible. What you see in green in this picture are the countries actually, so currently, member of the consortium. Okay. So in green, you see that you have 14 countries, and these countries are now the members of the consortium, and we hope to enlarge, of course, the membership to all the other red countries, so that at the end, let's say maybe in 2 years, in 3 years, we don't know, of course, we cannot foresee in political strategies, but so we hope to enlarge this membership because the members of the consortium are actually paying to be member of this consortium. And this means that the ERIC has its own budget to govern the infrastructure. So this is the let's say the added value of for EPOS for being an ERIC, because the real advantage of an ERIC is actually and effectively to provide a legal capacity to the body, legal capacity which is recognized all in all countries of the Union, and also in some countries now outside the Union, because UK, even if it's outside Europe, is still recognizing the ERIC as the legal body governing the infrastructure. And so this also provides to the infrastructure the flexibility to adapt to some specific requirements of each infrastructure of the hundreds contributing to EPOS. And so really the ERIC has been designed and implemented by the European Commission as the best tool to govern distributed research infrastructure, not only distributed, also single-sided, but so the best tool to govern research infrastructure. And as I said, currently we have 14 countries officially member of the ERIC.
Great, thank you. That helps because yes, as I said, and obviously other people have the same issue, this can be a little hard to kind of reconcile these different aspects because research infrastructure is one thing, but a legal consortium is a slightly different thing. And now I see a little clearer. That's great. Now, I would also like to ask a little bit about the coming milestones for EPOS and how you feel, what your personal vision might be. So could you perhaps say a few words about what's to come in the next few years while you're in charge and how you feel about that?
Yes, okay. So I think EPOS comes from far away. So I can possibly even share these.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so as you see, this is on purpose, this slide. We use this slide on purpose, so kind of chaotic, to make people to understand how complex it was to arrive where we are. So as you see, the concept of EPOS, so what I was describing at the beginning of this chat we are having, so the vision of EPOS goes back to 1997, so it's pretty far in the past. And through different phases and key steps, I would say, EPOS from a concept became a real research infrastructure that I had described before, governed by an European consortium, the ERIC. So you see there were, a preparatory phase, an implementation phase, and so on. So at the moment, this is where we are after having concluded a preparatory phase and an implementation phase, and the implementation phase just finished 2 years ago. And during the implementation phase, we achieved really two major goals EPOS was as a milestone. So to technically implement the services and the provision of EPOS. So all these data and data products that I was referring before, that EPOS wants to make available through the portal. But I would like to make clear that this implementation of the services we have done, it was not only done from a technical perspective. So it was not only to look for technical solution, best technical solution to integrate and curate and make all this data available. It was not only that, it was also to find effective, it was also to organize all these in an effective legal and financial framework. So even taking into account national priorities and strategies, because our long perspective is the sustainability in the long term, and we need to be supported by national authorities on that. That's why at the beginning I said, we are not involving only researchers in this research infrastructure, but we are involving also people in charge of taking the political decision that will allow the research infrastructure to be sustainable, and so to survive and grow on with time. So I think this is maybe the added this is the added value of EPOS on this. So as I said, so you asked which would be my commitment now. So EPOS is, as I said, is linking many research organizations belonging to diverse scientific disciplines, what we call the thematic core services in EPOS. And all these disciplines, they are individually or jointly developing tools to be now ready to operate services, as I described before. But EPOS is still in its pre-operational phase, what we call the pilot operational phase. And this phase will last until at least 2022. Okay. So that means that EPOS is, yes, integrating all this data, but is not ready yet to make this data universally available, as I was saying at the beginning. And so my commitment in the forthcoming years, it will be exactly to guide EPOS from this pre-operational phase, in which we are still tuning some technical, legal, and financial aspects to be sure that hopefully in 2022, EPOS can enter in a fully mature and operational phase. So this is my commitment, to guide EPOS from this phase to a fully operational phase.
This is, I'm sure, a challenge, but probably also a great opportunity. This sounds exciting. So hopefully this will work out, and from 2022 that things will be fully operational. I have one last question, if you don't mind, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
And that is, a lot of people talk about EPOS being rather kind of almost discipline shaping when it comes to earth sciences in Europe. And I wanted to kind of pick your brain about how do you think EPOS will change the research landscape in earth sciences in the coming years? Would you be able to say a few words about that?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, the EPOS scientific mission, if you want, is to facilitate innovative multidisciplinary research for a better understanding of the physical processes controlling earthquakes, volcanic eruption, and so all those processes driving tectonics and earth surface dynamics. And yeah, you would say, okay, good, and this is very good. We all like this, but yeah, will you go further? Yeah, my answer is that yes, we actually would like to go further, because the novelty of EPOS is that, okay, first of all, we are not simply talking about a portal from which you download data. The portal will not only allow you to download data, but also to work on the data, because the portal will make available to users tools, let's say informatic tools, software, useful to elaborate the data, so to use the data to make new products. And this is already a step further on what many portals already do. And this is, I think, let's say the technological novelty of EPOS. But as I said, the EPOS is not only dealing with technical solution, that means integrate data from at least 10 different disciplines. And this is already a big challenge, because you imagine to have volcanological data, seismological data, data coming from satellite, GNSS data, all talking in a different way, and make all this data talking the same language, so that when you go on one portal, you look all the data in the same way, and you can use the data with the same tool. So if you look at the technical innovation, this is already pretty advanced. But we are not dealing only with the technical. As I said, we want also adopt and we are adopting, so this is already a reality, legal solutions to manage the infrastructure, for example, by securing on a common and shared data policy. So we are making sure that all the infrastructure contributing in EPOS are actually adopting the same data policy, and this for a transparent use of the data by guaranteeing a mutual respect of the intellectual property right. And this is already also from a legal point of view, a pretty innovative step. But we are going even a step further, because now the scientific communities involved in EPOS, as I said, 10 currently. We have 10 different scientific communities, seismology, volcanology, satellite data, geology, and so on. This community, each of these community made of many different national research infrastructure are now organized in consortia. So each of these community is actually a consortium. And so the consortium is actually helping the community to adopt, as we said, shared not only technical solution but also legal solution to distribute their data. And as I said before, we are also working pretty in touch with national governments, and these because we are our final goal, if you want, is to achieve the long-term sustainability of the national infrastructures that are guaranteeing the provision of data to EPOS. So the added value of EPOS is actually to have looked at science not only from a scientific perspective, let's say a pure scientific perspective, but making this scientific perspective within a governance, legal and financial framework at European level. That means we are forcing all nations to talk together and speak with a single voice. And this is quite a different paradigm for the research community in general, I would say.
I agree with you, and this is a great vision and a great goal, I think, and I also personally think that it is highly needed. So we are very, very different, and oh, you have the goals here, great. Then maybe we'll quickly go through that, but I think it is highly needed because as you stress, we are all kind of isolated in our little communities, and this is often, it's comforting in a way, but it's also limiting. And we really want to make an effort to step out of our comfort zone and to make these things grow and exploit all these synergy effects, scientifically, of course, but also in terms of the infrastructure sharing, in terms of the legal framework. But I'll give the word back to you. Maybe you quickly want to run us through these goals you have on the slide here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I want to really go through these line by line. It was only to conclude with a nice picture summarizing. So let's say the EPOS state that we want to build the future on a solid scientific base. But to do that, as you very well summarized in your last words, we need to be embedded in a framework which is at a European level and possibly at global level, because we cannot avoid this. And we need to start talking with lawyers, governments, accountants. So scientists have to realize that they cannot, this is not any longer the time to be closed in a laboratory to make data. This is important, of course, but once you have produced your data, then you have to make your data useful to someone else.
Available and useful. Yes, I think this is the great challenge. And this is where I think we need to go in order to tackle these huge kind of environmental and scientific challenges ahead of us. So I think you're doing a great job there. Well, this brings me to the end of my little kind of set of questions. Lilli, thank you for your time. Thank you for explaining EPOS and ERIC, and thank you for explaining the visions and your vision in particular. Is there anything you kind of like to add? Anything important that I might have missed in terms of questions?
No, I simply want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain EPOS and EPOS vision. Yes, I would repeat that this is challenging, but is doable, and high risk, high gain. So I think that it's important to move in this direction. Personally, I started my adventure in EPOS, to be honest, not being fully convinced on the plan, because 10 years ago, being just a researcher, I'm pretty concerned on my research. It seems to me that this term was too much on a long perspective. But now I realize that then 10 years passed very fast, so it was not that long term. And I'm now convinced that this is the direction we should move on. So thank you for giving me the opportunity of explaining this. I hope I was clear enough.
Thank you very much.
But if I was not clear enough, please join EPOS.
Then we get more explanation.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
Great. No, I agree with you. This is a long-term thing, and the duration is, of course, for many decades. But every great journey starts with a first step, and obviously several steps have been made now. EPOS is now alive and kicking, and you described that you're already involved for 10 years, and the planning goes back to the late 90s. So this is a big thing, and it's an exciting thing. And I also believe that it's not just worthwhile, I also believe it is feasible to succeed. And this is, I guess, the great thing. So let me say thank you, and let me wish you all the very best in your new role, and leading EPOS into the future. And I guess we should also thank Massimo Coco, of course, for bringing it to this point. But I think it's delightful to see that you're taking over and bringing this into the future now. So thank you for your time, Lilli.
Well, we should, sorry. I mean, we should really thank the hundreds of researchers that in the past years really dedicated a lot of effort and time and resources to make this possible, and they all together allow EPOS to arrive where EPOS is at the moment. So I think it was surely not a one man, and it cannot be in the future a one woman job. It's really a team, a great team work.
It's very good of you to say that. I very much appreciate that. And I think all the people involved will listen to this with delight. So it's very good that you kind of added this. So that brings me to the end. So I'll say thank you, Lilli, for your time and for all the explanations. And good luck and all the very best from Sweden.
Thank you. All the very best from Rome.
Bye-bye.